Alrighty guys, welcome back to another LEGO set review from BrickByBrick, and today we have set number 75951. This is Grindelwald's Escape, one of the 2018 Wizarding World set, and this is actually the only one so far to be based on Fantastic Beasts 2: The Crimes of Grindelwald. This set was released at the same time as the rest of the wave on August 1st, 2018, and retailed for $19.99, containing 132 pieces, which is kind of a steep seeming price per piece, but we do have some larger pieces like the train doors, big wheels, and this specially brand new molded Thestral, which I think the wings are new molds as well. But you know, I have been keeping my eye on this set since it was released. I've always thought it looks pretty interesting to me, at least, and I did like Fantastic Beasts 2 a lot. I know that's a lot of people didn't really like it. Especially thought it was way worse than the first. I don't know, I liked the sequel, I thought it was good. So, this was always sort of on my radar, and then Walmart decided to clearance it for $9, and I was like, yes. So this is definitely a scaled down version of the Carriage that we see in the movie, but I think that it's a pretty decent representation of it for a cheap set. Obviously, in the movie, it's pulled by a bunch of Thestrals, not just one. I think it's 8 Thestrals, or 9, something like that. But the Thestral here can be attached pretty easily. You just got these lightsaber bars that they use. They're actually, you attach them here, but I guess they want to come off with this, and that's fine. Because regardless, it's super easy to attach it. So, that's good. We'll take a look at this Thestral in detail in a minute. But I do want to start with just the design of the carriage itself, and it looks pretty good. We've gotten carriages sort of like this before. The last one I can think of is the Stagecoach Escape from the Lone Ranger wave, which was, I think, twice the price point here. So that was obviously more detailed and probably better looking, but for a really cheap version of one, this isn't bad. It's got the front axle that turns, so that means you got some actual steering here. Which works. I like the use of the wagon wheels. We've got the really big ones at the back. And back here we've got an area where you could sit a figure or two. That it'd be a little bit of a tight squeeze for two, but you know, you can just sit a figure there. And that works. Have someone facing backwards. And, you know, you've got these little, they use these plant pieces in black that were introduced, I think, for either Friends or Disney Princess or something, but they become really useful pieces, and they add a nice, like, decorative, fancy flourish to this, and they do the same thing up front as well, and it kind of creates that carriage shape. Again, there is the one seat up here, which is stationary. It doesn't turn with the rest, but it looks good, and that's where your stagecoach driver would sit. We've got the little step simulated to get into the carriage, which has these opening train doors, and you actually have both sides of train door, which is cool. And you know, your figure would just climb in, but to get access yourself, you can just remove the roof of the cabin. And inside is actually nicely detailed. There's some nice red padding on the seats, which works pretty well, and you can again seat a figure right inside. There's no glass for the train doors, which I guess that's the only minor complaint I could have about the interior, but it's pretty good looking and works really well. Also, it would have been nice to have a little bit of a window here, but no, it's okay that there's not one included. But yeah, this is a good, nice working carriage. It's not too complicated, not too complex, it's very simple, but it does the simplicity well, and I don't know, I like it. The Thestral here is also pretty well done. It's got a attachment, or it used a specially molded piece at the base, and then it has this attachment which has clips for the wings. Only thing I don't like about this whole Thestral build is that they use a dark tan plate here, where it's supposed to, or at least I think it's supposed to be just part of the Thestral itself. You could see it as being part of the saddle that's used, but just the back of this here makes that a little bit weird. Maybe it would have been nice to see that in dark tan. I don't know. The wings are a little bit stiff. There's a good level of friction, so you can pose them pretty well. But my only minor complaint would be that it's a little bit stiff to move them up and down and flap them. You got some little claws attached here. I believe these are a new mold for the Thestral as well, but they'll probably be reused elsewhere. But this body mold I don't know, I can't think of anything else you'd use this for. It's in the same style as a horse, but as the 2x2 cutout, but it definitely feels a lot thinner, a bit more skeletal, and the printing on that head is really, really nice. Done. Really, really great. Yeah, did a good job with that. And as we saw before, it is really easy to attach it to the carriage. And there are 2 figures included in this set, being Grindelwald and Seraphina Pickery, the head of Makusa. And both of these figures are pretty well done, I think. Grindelwald is a little bit less interesting, as he was also done in the CMF series, but this is a more Crimes of Grindelwald accurate version of him. And Seraphina Pickery is just a brand new character, which is really cool to get. She comes with a purple wand, which is exclusive to the set so far. And both of the characters come with these Power Blast pieces, which I think this is the only Harry Potter set to do this. But they're basically designed to simulate shooting magic from the wands, but they're like an actual play feature that you can use. And yeah, it's alright. It works. It would have been better if it came from the same hand as the wand, but that's really not possible. Yeah, the printing on the torso for both of them is really good. I like getting this dress slope piece for Pickery here. And only shame is no dual molding on the legs for Grindelwald. That would have been really nice to see, as it's just a little bit weird where the legs cut off there. But the face print on Pickery is pretty well done. I like the hair there, and we have a recolor of the sailor hat piece, which we don't get that piece too often, so even getting it in a recolor, I think we've gotten it with 2 different versions of sailors, one from the Bricktober pack and the original CMF, but I think both of them were white, and the original sailor had some printing on it. The release might have had no printing, might have been plain, I don't know. But this is definitely the first time we've gotten it in this sand blue. And Grindelwald's face is cool. He's got the slightly off-color eye, which is intentional. That's a design thing, not a printing mistake. And then we have this alternate expression. I don't know how I feel about the mouth on this expression. Like, I don't know if I love this expression all that much. But the main neutral expression, which is probably more similar to the CMF design in expression, just lacks the mustache, which I'm trying to remember if the mustache is more accurate to this movie, but if the lack of mustache is more accurate. But I think he has the mustache, at least in the big scene at the end, his most memorable scene. At least in that scene, I'm pretty sure he has a mustache. So I don't know. Maybe it would have been nice to just have the mustache here anyway, but it is nice to differentiate him a little bit. Overall, I think that the contents of what we get here are pretty good. They're a little bit simplified, which is weird to me, as this is probably the simplest build of all the Harry Potter sets, and it feels like the one that's most targeted towards like younger kids. But I feel like it's weird that the one Crimes of Grindelwald set that we've gotten is the one that's most kid-targeted. Just as, I don't know, I feel like Fantastic Beasts is generally a little bit more mature than, not that younger kids wouldn't be able to watch it. It's nothing appropriate level, but I think just the themes are a little bit more mature, and I think that younger kids would probably be a little bit less interested by it. But we did get this one set here, and this is the set they chose to make off of the movie. I don't know. It's just a little bit confusing in premise, but what we get here is pretty good, and I think that it makes a fun toy regardless of whether or not you've even seen Fantastic Beasts. I think that it's a good build. I think the only part about it that really sets it in the Fantastic Beasts universe are the figures and this Thestral. But this is just a decent stagecoach. Replace this with a regular horse, and yeah, it's a little bit dark and gloomy looking, but it would work in just a regular Western setting. And for that, I think that this is a pretty good set, especially offering a cheap alternative, sort of substitute Western in a time where we haven't really gotten any Western sets whatsoever. So I think for that, some people might appreciate it. And if you were a fan of the movie, I think that this is a relatively cheap impulse sort of purchase. And I think in that regard, I would recommend it as well. $20, I can see it. It's a little bit small. Maybe 15 would be a really good retail price for this. But you could get that really special molded Thestral, and for that I'd be willing to pay $5 alone. So that's where I can see the $20 come in. So if you don't care about the Thestral, maybe wait for a discount to get the rest of it. But if you do care about the Thestral, then at retail price, I think that's a decent value. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you did, let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll see you guys all next time. Bye, everyone.